What year is it?
What year is it indeed? This is absolutely nuts. 2016 was filled with a lot of drama and a lot of commentators rising to the top, and some of those commentators are back. Leafy is here, came back out of nowhere. Grade A Under A is back now, and now KEEMSTAR is getting content copped again, but as Ethan called it, it is content nuked. And he did drop some bombs, and it's got everybody talking to the point where KEEMSTAR was trending quite a bit. And there's a lot of beef going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to break down Ethan's video, you know, the important parts, and I'm going to talk about all the stuff that's involved and all the drama and all the fallout and everything that's been, especially that's been on Twitter. Now, before I start, there's a few things that I need to mention. The first thing I need to mention is that I am friends with Ethan. You know, even though I'm going to be objective about breaking everything down, I think it's really important to mention that because there's always people that want to do the gotcha moments. Like they would probably share a clip like this.
Derek Blackman. Oh, I know him.
Yeah.
This is some black guy on YouTube. He's a friend. He's a good dude. I've met up with him.
But I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm not going to protect him just because we're cool. And second of all, I think you guys need to realize that the people that are involved, KEEMSTAR and Ethan, let's stop acting like they're the worst people on earth. Like, for example, last night I was watching some true crime stuff where this Australian dude got a baseball scholarship to Oklahoma, and then he was just jogging, you know, in the suburbs, and then these thugs pulled up beside him, and one of them shot him in the back, went through his lungs and heart, and he died in minutes. Senseless act of violence. Scum of the earth, you know, deserve to be anything to happen to them. The worst stuff. Ethan or KEEMSTAR are not on that level. And a lot of you are acting like they're on that level. A lot of you are acting like, oh, these guys are the scum of the earth, this or that. Whichever camp you're on. If you're Team Keem or if you're Team H3H3, either way, the ones that are pointing finger at each other, you all look silly. You need to put things into perspective and realize this is just internet bullshit. Now, I also need to say, while I was editing this video, KEEMSTAR dropped a response to the whole Etika stuff. And I'm going to address that in the middle bit. So if it seems a little bit weird, something just being interjected, it's because of that. Coming from the future, baby. Now, without further ado, let's start breaking the stuff down. So throughout this video, Ethan combs through a lot of stuff that KEEMSTAR has done throughout the years and even recently. But he starts off with KEEMSTAR accusing him of stealing the money from Payday 2 that was supposed to be for the lawsuit that Ethan was involved in. And that seems to be the whole premise of this, is that like it's one of the straw that broke the camel's back. Like Ethan has just had it up to here with KEEMSTAR because KEEMSTAR has constantly been messing with him. So that's the first thing that's really addressed.
The creators of Payday 2 basically came out and said, look, we're going to do an H3H3 DLC pack. We're going to sell it for $5, and all the money we make, we're going to give to H3H3 for the lawsuit. And H3H3 lied to everyone.
Now, Ethan addresses that towards the end of the video, but I think we should just get it out of the way now, where essentially he just talks to one of the guys that made Payday 2 and then just said that, hey, this money was for us, right? For Ela and myself, and basically the guy agrees.
Have you spoken to KEEMSTAR?
No.
Okay.
I'm not spoken to KEEMSTAR.
Oh, he didn't ask you. Well, did I commit fraud? Was that money meant for us?
It was 100% meant for you and Ela, yeah.
So I didn't commit fraud?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because he was saying that I like stole hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you're saying that's not true, and you're the guy that set up the deal and did everything. So if anyone would know, it would be you, right? Not KEEMSTAR.
It would be me, yeah.
Yeah, it would be you.
So basically that's put to rest, but since KEEMSTAR was poking the bear, because, you know, Ethan could have obviously just made a quick video reacting to that point or just refuting that point and be like, yo, this is what's up. This money wasn't for the lawsuit. Shut up. And then just been done with it. But obviously Ethan was just really angry, and I'm sure he's angry because of all the bullshit that he's been getting throughout the years. And let's be real, KEEMSTAR has been involved with a lot of the bullshit, help propping it up. Anytime there's some type of information that has to do with Ethan, he wants to put it on drama alert, and he wants to be completely biased, which is, it's kind of fucked up, but it's also kind of silly, kind of just showing like, look at this guy. I mean, usually news organizations try not to do that, but you know, it's drama alert. Now, there's two major things that are really controversial in this video. But the one thing I guess that wasn't really that controversial is that one old dude that Keemstar once accused of being a sexual predator, and it essentially kind of ruined his life, and there's still remnants of it, and that's kind of like a thing that Ethan focused on quite a bit.
One time I had, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people threatened to kill my family, harassing my sister, my nephews. I mean, they were just, hacked my RuneScape account. They hacked our YouTube channel. They did more crap than you can even possibly imagine, okay? All about how I'm a child molester and a pedophile. Anyway, I sent a little Twitter out, and I just said, Keemstar, just so you know, your BS a year and a half ago still causes me trouble every day.
Look, I get we all make mistakes. I totally understand that. And I think everybody else understands that too. It's still like you can be mad at Keemstar. I understand it because it's a dangerous thing to do. In my personal opinion, I don't talk about stuff like that because it's so serious. It's things that where police get involved. I usually want to stay away from things that where law enforcement get involved because I feel like I have no fucking business trying to get involved or fuck anything up. Like there's people that are all trying to be Chris Hansen. You know, I guess they don't want to be Chris Hansen anymore because he's been kind of exposed to be a grifter. But when he was still like seen in that same light, everybody wants to be Chris Hansen. Everybody wants to bust the predators, which I understand feeling righteous and want to get the scumbags off the streets, but you have no training and no experience, and your stupid ass platform on YouTube is just gonna do more harm than good. 100% law enforcement will always tell you if you have evidence, bring it to the fucking police because you're going to compromise an investigation by talking about it. It's one of the fucking most basic things, and everybody still tries to do it. So I try to stay out of that shit as much as possible. But you know, Keemstar thought he was doing something righteous. He thought he was going to expose this guy, and then it turned out to be false, bad information, and it ruined a man's life. And he's still feeling it. There's remnants of it. And I guess the bad thing about that situation is that Keemstar was very remorseful and apologetic, but then when the old dude, I'm sorry I forgot his name, I think his name's Tony or something, he kept speaking out about it, and because he was still mad about it, and God forbid he would still be mad about somebody accusing him of being a fucking pedophile. God forbid you would still be mad about that and people still messing with you. But Keemstar was very angry and he lashed out.
I am not going to put up with you fucking blaming me for people trolling you anymore, because I am not guilty of that. I'm guilty of that video being wrong and what I said about you, but I'm not guilty of you being trolled in 2017. If this happened once or twice, I just let it go. But you've done this to me multiple times over the last 6 months, and I'm holding back every urge from saying just like, go fuck you, go fuck yourself. I'm holding that back.
So yeah, it's a little bit distasteful, right? But that's not the biggest thing about this video. There's two major things that people are having a gripe with. One of the things is G Fuel and Etika. So throughout Ethan's video, he's kind of subtly jabbing at the sponsor G Fuel. Keemstar's sponsored by them. They're like an energy drink for gamers or whatever. And yeah, you can kind of tell that he's going after the sponsor, and it's something that we kind of don't really agree with in the YouTube community.
How is G Fuel still sponsor this guy, by the way? G Fuel brought to you by false pedophilia accusations. God, chug it, G Fuel.
Get it now at gfuel.com.
Go fuck you.
And I also, if I recall correctly, the interview brought to you by the SWAT murder was also sponsored by G Fuel. Use code KEEM for 10% off of your life expectancy.
So there's a little bit to unpack here because I think everyone kind of remembers what happened with the Wall Street Journal when they went after the people that are sponsored or running ads on YouTube, and then that costs a lot of people money. It's just a really bad thing. Like, say, usually people will see, oh, these are all faceless corporations, so whatever, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times it runs deeper and it does affect people. And I think when you do stuff like this, you have to be careful, because even though Keemstar is a multimillionaire, and losing a sponsor like G Fuel is probably not going to be that hurtful because he has a ton of money. He does great in investing. He has a deal with Spotify. Obviously, he makes a lot of money with Drama Alert. All of those things. But the thing is, you don't know what that G Fuel money is going towards. You don't know if that's actually paying employees that he has behind the scenes. You don't know. Like, I most certainly don't know. So it's one of those things where I won't directly go after somebody's money. And I think that's kind of petty to do. And I think it's one of the things, like, say, if losing a sponsorship from having like a content cop, or you getting, you know, reacted to somebody like really, what do they call you? They dunk on you or something. If you lose a sponsor as a symptom, I wouldn't even point fingers whatsoever, because I'd be like, yeah, you were doing some shady shit, and then your sponsors actually caught wind of it, because a lot of times they're not paying attention. They just want to get paid. They just want you to advertise, and hopefully people will buy more stuff, and then they'll kick you back. So when they find out some stuff like, oh, we don't want to be involved in this, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you really start to poke at it and mention it, when you're really hinting towards like, hey, we should do something like that, it's not a good look, and it's not a good idea, because like I said, you don't know where that money or who that money's going towards. In Keemstar's response video, he confirms that he left G Fuel. G Fuel didn't drop him. He just left because he didn't want them to get any more bullshit. And which I understand. He's been working with the company for a long time, and he's just like, they don't deserve any of this drama or hate, so I'm going to separate myself, which is things that happen. And it's just an unfortunate side effect and just a giant fucking mess. And a lot of people are really, really mad. They're kind of focusing on that the most. Like, that's the most egregious thing. And to me, to be honest, I think that's a little bit silly for a couple of reasons. Because if you just look a little bit, there's people that have come out and said things like, I'm gonna read this tweet real quick. I remember ages ago when I had a little 2 to 3 day beef with Keemstar. He sent me a private DM listing all my sponsors at the time, saying he was going to get them all to drop me. None did. Today I found out Keem was dropped by G Fuel. So that's letting you know that obviously Keemstar has no problem trying to go after people's sponsors. Obviously he has no problem with that, because when you think about some of the other stuff that was mentioned in the video, for example, one thing that I didn't really focus on that much because I think we all know about it, it's Keemstar's doxing. Like, he's doxed people before publicly, no problem, and he's been on live streams, and which one thing Ethan kind of highlighted, that he has no problem, and he's saying, what are you gonna do about it? Like, I'm basically untouchable.
Here's Keemstar doxing a YouTuber known as Smiles4YouTube on his live stream.
His Skype is literally Smile4YouTube. Keep note of all this. That's his Skype right there.
Giving out my house address, giving out all of my information. Because
this is his phone number. The guy's from Canada. This is his wife's phone number right here.
I doxed him. What are you gonna do about it? I mean, I'm literally telling you right now, what do you think's gonna happen to me? You said to Augie, this is gonna be a big story that Keemstar doxed Destiny. I doxed Destiny. Where is the big story? Yeah, I dox people all the time. I run a news show. Like, it's literally part of the job.
So knowing that Keemstar has gone after people's sponsors, I wonder if the people that are so angry at Ethan are gonna remain angry. Of fucking course they are, because really when it comes down to it, and I'm going to touch on this point later, is that this has nothing to do with morals. It has nothing to do with morals at all to the internet. This is, who do I like better? Who do I perceive to be like shit? Who do I perceive to be edgy and cool? Because perception is reality. So the last thing I want to focus on is one of the more sadder points and one of the more controversial points. It's about Etika's death. I'm sure everybody that's watching this knows who Etika is, and they know that he took his own life not too long ago because he has a lot of mental health issues, and you know, he was in a manic state and everything. And it was just really, it was sad to see. It was really sad to see. It was really messy because people loved Etika. He was universally loved. I wasn't hugely aware of the dude, but when I caught wind of him and I started to learn about him, I was like, this guy's awesome. How come I haven't known this guy for years? And some people that are close to me have known him for years. They met him, they were friends. So it was really sad to see that this happened. Now, the thing that H3H3, that Ethan, he focused on was that Keemstar was essentially milking Etika. You know, like, he was clearly having episodes and he was clearly sick mentally, and he was just profiting off of it. But the thing is, and this is really important, I think people need to also recognize, because this is kind of in the defense of Keemstar, even though I think that was pretty fucked up to do, you got to recognize that Keemstar doesn't really take mental health issues and stuff like that and depression seriously. And this is something that Ethan focuses on in the video.
We don't believe in depression in this household. We believe if you're sad, work harder.
If you claim that you have mental health issues, people automatically support you.
Drug companies invent all of these mental illnesses so they could sell drugs to morons. Social anxiety is 100% a fake invented illness, so they can sell you drugs and make millions. Stop being weak.
So when you take that into account, even when you think that Keemstar was doing something messed up by exploiting mental health issues, you got to remember that he's ignorant to that shit. He doesn't believe in that shit. So in his mind, he's just like profiting off of people being wacky or something, and thinking that, oh, you can probably change and you don't need medication and serious help or something like that, because it doesn't seem like he really understands that. So it's one of those things that, like, it's hard to get as mad at ignorance than if somebody who's just being malicious or something. And I don't think Keemstar's being malicious at all. Not like, say, when it comes to the doxing or whatever, that's just malintent. Obviously you're being malicious, you're releasing people's information, and then the internet's going to do something fucked up with it. But when it comes to stuff like this, like, it seems like I can't be that mad. I can just be like, I wish you took this shit more seriously, but I see how he doesn't fucking get it. So Keemstar drops a 14-minute response, and he focuses on Etika. And so the one thing that he wanted to focus on was absolving him from wrongdoing, where he shows a text from Etika's mom, and then he shows tweets from Etika's girlfriend, just kind of showing that you're not involved and stuff, and people need to kind of relax, and which I understand. And then also focusing on saying that it's really egregious that Ethan really is trying to pin it on him. And here's the thing, and this is me watching Ethan's video kind of half awake. I was really tired when I was watching it, and I was just trying to like make sure I was focusing on the main points, but there was something that I did miss, and it was when Ethan said that, yeah, it's kind of funny that you told him to jump off a cliff or something, or you should jump off a cliff, and then not too like long later he ended up jumping off a bridge, kind of really connecting the dots, were at the very least implying that Keemstar is responsible. Now Ethan came out and clarified in a tweet saying that he's not claiming that he's responsible, but just created like a toxic environment, and which I think the toxic environment thing is definitely true, but the whole thing is that it's kind of hard to skate past that. I think there's definitely trying to imply and putting in implications there, and that's definitely something that a lot of people are shaking their heads at.
If you really think about it, then why live? Just jump off a cliff. Just jump off a cliff. If it's just a simulation, who cares?
Of course, hypothetical, but it is quite a coincidence when you consider that only 51 days later, that very same YouTuber jumped off a bridge to his death.
Ultimately, the choice, it does lie within the person that chose to do that act. And so it becomes really muddy and murky. And the thing is, a lot of people are saying just let him rest. And I totally actually understand that. I really do. Because here's where it comes to, and the part that kind of does disappoint me about Ethan. Even though this was something that was really egregious to him, in Ethan's perspective, the way that he treated Etika was just disgusting. I understand where he's coming from. But the thing is, I feel like the people that are grieving around Etika, and it's just like, I'm like, dude, just don't go there. I think all your points could have been made without going there. And so that's one of the things that was disappointing, that seeing, it's like, man, it just doesn't need to be brought up. And then you see Etika's girlfriend was getting involved. She was tweeting out and saying like stuff. She was very saddened. And then she ended up protecting her tweets because I think people were trying to, not fire back at her, but really trying to defend Ethan and go hard in the paint on Keemstar. And I'm sure she just didn't want to relive any of that stuff and any of the trauma. So it's a bad, unfortunate side effect of you trying to take somebody down. So I'd say that is it in the nutshell for the most part. But this is far from over, because Keemstar took to Twitter and he said, "Fuck Ethan Klein, I will be responding." And then he said, 2-part response. Part 1, Etika tomorrow. I'm going to be real. Like, I don't think in the long run, this is just my opinion and my perception, I don't think anything's going to change. I think the people that don't like Ethan, I think they're going to stay not liking Ethan, even though if he makes good points, even though he points out stuff that, like, look, he's done all this stuff, that you guys get all mad about, you guys get all high and mighty about. You guys say, oh, doxing's the worst thing ever. Oh, this is the worst thing ever. This is the worst thing ever. Yet you still ride with somebody like Keemstar. I think they're going to continue to do it. Now that Keemstar has responded, I wonder if Ethan's going to do any responses. I know there's another one coming, Keemstar is claiming that, oh, it's all lies and slander. But what I assume is going to happen is that there's going to be certain little things that they can definitely try to refute that's going to be responded to, and not everything. Because that's typically what happens. Even though Ethan's video was largely received well, there's people on the internet that just don't like Ethan. No matter what he says, he's not going to come out looking clean. 2020 or 2016 2.0 has been so fucking disappointing. But at least I have some content now. Take it easy, everyone.